Please welcome Fran Schoenwetter, Content Marketing Director for SupplySide.
It's always funny to hear your voice from some disembodied place, or your name. So here I am. Yeah, so I'm Fran Schoenwetter. I am with SupplySide, Supplement Journal and Food and Beverage Journal, and I'm the Director of Content Marketing. I work quite a bit with PLT Health, and PLT Health is bringing you some on-point content today, all about beverages and beverage innovation. We know how hot beverages are in the marketplace. Application for not only tried and true flavors and some health benefit ingredients, but a new home for some of the well-tested branded ingredients that can carry the day in beverages. So the title of our session today is The Future of Formulating Beverages. Make sure that you've downloaded our app today. It's very, very useful for navigating the entire show, knowing what and where is happening for content, as well as finding all your vendors and their booths as well. Keep in mind, we also have a second floor this year at SupplySide Global. This is brand new. We've gotten pretty big. So you'll find your way out through the corridor and up an escalator to floor 2. And we have networking space, and we have some free food throughout the day also. And we have Bark Park up there also. And the Supplement Innovation stage. Be sure to be here this afternoon at 3:45 also for Ingredient Idol, where we reveal some of the top trending ingredients that we've discovered that have power-packed science supporting their benefits, and we'll see who gets revealed on a per category basis. So that's right here at the innovation stage at 3:45 today. Spilling the tea. Yes. So we're just going to do an introduction for our entire panel today. So let me just tell you that this is a panel discussion, and we've got quite a few panelists today, and then we'll run a Q&A out in the audience. So keep your questions jotted down, and we'll run a mic at the end if you do have questions. So let's get going without further ado. So our moderator for the discussion is Ben Kane, and he is the co-owner and president of Price Plow. So with that, welcome Ben to the stage. Here he comes. Hi, Ben. And instead of Joey Savage, which you may have seen on the schedule, we have Katie McCammack, and Katie is the director of R&T with Savage Nutrition. Welcome, Katie. Welcome, Katie. Steve Fink. Many of you may know Steve. He's the VP of Marketing with PLT Health. Welcome, Steve. And Shawn Wells, Chief Science Officer with NNB Nutrition. Welcome, Shawn. I know we've got a big panel. Got a couple more people. Brent Petersen. He's the VP of R&D with Glanbia Nutrition. And finally, Michael Lelah from NutriScience. He is the head of science and research at NutriScience. So welcome, Michael. So glad that you could step in today. So with that, I'm going to hand it right over to Ben for the discussion, and we'll get back to you all later. Keep your questions in your head, but on your paper, and we'll get back to you.
Awesome. All right, welcome, everyone. Welcome to this special panel. I'm really excited to be talking with you guys today and to be celebrating collaborative innovation. I'm here with the brilliant minds behind CreaTea. This is a concept beverage, so it doesn't get sold, but every single one of you can grab one in front if you want. You could rush up now or after the show. This beverage proves what's possible when the industry leaders set competition aside and focus on collaboration. We've coined a bit of a phrase, collaboration occurs at the top. We have some of the leading industry innovators in this panel today. I'm really excited to break a lot of these things down with you guys. So, if you guys aren't familiar, last year we launched a viral energy drink named XPO NRG. Informa didn't really know about it, but we kind of showed up with a lot of these, and we gave away 50,000 for free. Everywhere you went, you saw one of these cans, and one of the cool things about it was that it was over the top. It would never be commercially viable, but it brought together some really cool ingredients and did a couple things that no one thought was possible. But obviously the biggest criticism at this show is that it could never make it onto a shelf. So this year, we focused a lot more on commercial viability. We also went natural with the flavoring, and we grappled with creatine degradation in RTDs. We delivered a really clean label, and frankly, the whole product, if any of you guys have a lot of funding in your pocket right now, you can take this to market because it's commercially viable, and it breaks creatine out of its box into cognitive. So you guys already know everyone. I do want to note that Katie is with LaCore Nutraceuticals. We love working with her at Savage Nutra, but she has an awesome facility down in Texas that we love to visit. So I'm going to ask everyone a couple questions, but if anyone has anything to add to anyone else's questions, I fully welcome it. So first, Steve, Zynamite S delivers cognitive benefits in 30 minutes without stimulants. Creatine goes a step further and pairs it with another non-stimulant ingredient known for brain health, creatine. In an industry obsessed with stimulants, how do you educate on a non-stim cognitive ingredient? And why did you team up with creatine here, since a lot of people would consider it to be a completely different category than Zynamite?
Yeah, it was really exciting for us to take a look at creatine, and there has been a lot of interesting early work and discovery in the cognitive space, and the work that we, PLT and Nectium, have invested years of clinical work and research in the area of non-stim mental energy. We've actually put a series of studies together, and we said, you know what, how do we take this incredible solution, and it's very experiential, as you mentioned, 30 minutes. How do you then take an ingredient that gives you this experiential impact, mental fatigue benefits, processing information, focus, and say, look, I can deliver an experiential ingredient, pair it with a very well-trending ingredient, and show how you can innovate. How do you take it to the next level? How do you take an experiential impact and pair it to an ingredient that's also trending, and you're able to now deliver something that you can feel right away? It's going to give you benefits in the brain, benefits in the body, and really then build. And of course, we're not going to spend time talking about all the different benefits that we have, but it was very exciting for us to be able to deliver that in an easily consumed application. We spent a lot of time taking Zynamite and making it beverage soluble, a lot of innovation behind that. So to be able to deliver that range of benefits in a very convenient on-the-go package, pair it with an ingredient like that, as well as everybody else on the stage, it shows what really can be done in the form of innovation.
Awesome. So if you guys don't know, Zynamite is a cognitive ingredient. Zynamite S brings it into RTDs. So we're talking about beverage-stable ingredients. And when we talk about beverage-stable ingredients, over the last couple of years, it's like impossible to not think of CreaBev, because I think a lot of us heard about it, a lot of us were excited about it, but the idea of creatine in your convenience store fridge has just been like an elusive idea. So, Brent, CreaBev maintains potency for over 12 months. This is revolutionary for RTDs. It may even show enhanced creatine absorption, we talked about a little bit. It's really special for the creatine category, but if brands are looking to get into RTDs with creatine, what kind of things do you want them to know when they're working with your material? And what is it possible about this CreaBev ingredient that may be boosting some absorption, or we're seeing better performance with this creatine?
Okay, yeah, good question. So when we talk to customers looking at CreaBev to add into their beverages, we've tested it through all the different pH ranges. We've had customers launch products in all mid pH, neutral pH, high acid beverages. So it works pretty much wherever you need to take it. Now, its performance as far as shelf life varies depending on the environment and other things you pair with the creatine. So, there needs to be some developmental work when you use this. On the question, as far as when we have two published studies on CreaBev, and one of them we looked at absorption of creatine, and we did see you had a much larger spike of creatine compared to creatine monohydrate, and then the area under the curve was higher. It didn't quite reach significance, but it was you saw a much larger increase of the absorption. Now, why does that work? We haven't studied it, but if you look at like curcumin research, the extract out of turmeric, when you make something more soluble, that tends to, those studies tend to show a difference in absorption. So CreaBev does make the creatine more soluble. If you were to put creatine monohydrate in a beverage, it just sinks like sand in the beverage. This solubilizes it. So if I was to guess, that's probably the mechanism of why you're getting higher absorption.
Awesome. Shawn, so we made these drinks in comparison to last year. We made them completely naturally sweetened, and the decision to do that was solely based around using SweetVantage, which is really cool to say. You spent years and millions on developing SweetVantage. How did you break the code on natural sweeteners, and how does that uniquely position you in where the market is right now?
Well, I've been formulating for 25 years, and before NNB, that I co-founded and chief science officer in, I was doing a lot of flavor work. And one of the things that I learned how to do early on, like dimetize, made ISO 100, we would do sucralose, but then I figured out like using Reb A helped with the back end. This allowed you to lower your overall sweetener use and round out the flavor. Then I started looking at things like erythritol or fructose you can use on the front end. And now when you look at this whole sweetener curve, you get a rounder flavor, and it brings out the full body of the flavor. So this allows, one, your cost to be lower in terms of how much sweetener you use. You get the rounder flavor. You get true notes of the flavor. It's a better experience. You don't get the back-end bitterness that you get for a lot of these natural ingredients. The code was finally when technology really became available to do Reb A, D, and M. That's what we looked at, and we found that D is really a front-end sweetener. M, which is getting really popular, we're finding is kind of the middle. Think of like a sucrose or sucralose. And A is a really good back end. We worked for years on E-tongue testing to find the right ratio to give that full body sweetness so that it really simulates sugar and really even beyond. It has kind of a lingering effect that's really nice to actually cover back-end bitterness, like post-swallow bitterness, that you'll find is quite interesting with SweetVantage. And then we have a new version of it coming out with a new patented version of Reb M that's even better than current Reb M. That again we own patents on and actually enhances bioavailability, and it's called Reb M9. And we have the whole gamut there. And then we've even plated it on allulose, and it can crystallize. But we've been using it in RTDs with incredible success. So yes, excited about it.
How does that affect the way that you are positioned in the industry right now? Like with increase in consumers being aware of what they're consuming, you guys have a slogan right now of sugar is dead, which is really kind of aggressive and fun. Like how are you guys?
A little hyperbolic, but yeah.
How are you using this right now? Like what are you seeing in terms of trends for flavoring?
I mean, actually in my talk yesterday, Scott from Spins was talking about how this ranks high for a lot of people, like wanting natural, non-caloric sweeteners. And yet, when it comes down to point of sale, price becomes an issue, flavor becomes an issue. And so even though it's important, it really hasn't tasted good enough to move the needle over price and actual flavor. That's why like a lot of us have dissonance, like, oh, just get the sucralose version because it tastes better. But I think we're finally at a point where it's overcoming that threshold, where now like this is really, the technology is there that this is truly an option to replace sugar, to replace sucralose, ACE K, all of these things that we've been using for years, and no one's missing it at this point. And also the price has come way down. Like Reb A has been very feasible price-wise for years, but Reb M, Reb D were very, very expensive, and now all of these are very feasible to use.
Awesome, thank you. Mike, So when we were making this product, we knew that there had to be caffeine in it. An energy drink doesn't work without caffeine, or at least some sort of stimulant. It's just so closely related to like the understanding of energy drinks. But given that it's a tea, given that it's naturally sweetened, given that we're using, an herbal extract for one of the claims, we wanted to go with a natural source of it, and we used InnovaBean. So InnovaBean is a natural caffeine from obviously coffee, and it's chemically identical to synthetic caffeine. But is it just label claim? Are people just looking to it to see like a cleaner label from sourcing, or does it perform any differently? Can you talk to us about it?
Sure. So at NutriScience, we bring scientific ingredients and uniquely sourced ingredients to market. So caffeine really pulls the whole formula together. Most of the world's caffeine is synthetic. And so when we're looking for something more natural, it's an extract, and it's an extract, in the case of InnovaBean in this product, from coffee beans. And also we have extracts from tea, Innova tea. The caffeine is typically extracted with a very harsh solvent like hexane. That's the typical extraction solvent used. And so we had to hunt far and wide to find the ability to get an extract that was water-based. And so InnovaBean is a water-based extract from coffee. And interestingly, it isn't just about that. It's also about sustainability. It is a waste product of a process that's used to make decaffeinated coffees and decaffeinated teas, depending on whether it was tea or coffee. And so we've got that added benefit as well. Now, during the extraction process, you're going to extract the caffeine and then crystallize it to an extremely high degree of purity, greater than 99% pure. In general, in the body, it functions similarly to the synthetic version. Or to put it a different way, the synthetic version responds very similarly to the natural version. But really, I think you feel better having a more natural product, a more sustainable ingredient in the formula. And that's the way we've gone with InnovaBean, and that is where this product really shines, if you will.
I love that so much because so often right now, the conversation, I mean, I even found myself asking the question is, how does this natural version compare to the synthetic version? But maybe it was the natural version we should have been comparing to all along. So Katie, you brought all this together. You were like the final jigsaw piece that really made this all work. There were a lot of different hurdles in making this work in can. What type of work did you do to make sure that this was going to be a success? Like, what kind of hurdles did you find? And honestly, answer this honestly, could a typical co-packer handle commercializing this CREATEA? Like, could this go to market, and could other people do it as easily as the team put it together?
Yes, to your second question, it is, I mean, you saw the tank. It was very water dispersible. We didn't have a ton of foaming, which whenever you do canning, you run through what's called a dissolved oxygen meter. The more foam you have, the more errors you're going to get, because you don't want any dissolved oxygen in your cans. So that was one thing, when we got that call that they were blending it, and on their initial intake, you guys were still on your way, and they were like, we're having a little bit of a foaming problem. And I'm not going to lie, I immediately went to, we're going to have errors on filling. So I ran up and I went to that big tank that you love, and it actually really was not bad on the foaming. So easy to commercialization, no sedimentation. We have a diaphragm pump. So one of the other things that I had told both you and Joey is I'm always a little bit gun shy on the botanical ingredients, because the dispersibility, the sedimentation, the things like that you kind of really don't find out until, a week, 2 weeks sitting on the shelf. And so whenever you guys approached me about this, the biggest hurdle was getting you guys the yes, right? I did threaten to slash some tires before if we weren't going to get an answer. And then that day you got an answer, and it was a yes. So the coordination aspect was the biggest hurdle. getting everybody in line. I mean, not in the sense of I had to command everybody, but I mean, I was working outside of our system basically to make sure I had a spreadsheet, and I said, all right, this is, how much you guys need. Here's the tracking. When is it landing? When can I get you guys in? And it was just boom, 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 outside of our system. Did everybody at my facility love me for that? No. We love our processes, we love our quality, but we didn't sacrifice our quality for the working outside the system. And I think that really is a testament to what LaCore can do as a whole, because we are more than willing to bend backwards for anybody, big or small. So the Zynamite was my gun-shy hesitancy. So I got all those samples in. I spent extra time at the lab to make sure that I ran a pilot batch first. And so I sat there for an hour. I sat there for 2 hours, and I was just waiting for the separation to happen. And I think I breathed a lot easier whenever, after 2 hours, I saw nothing.
A lot of time has gone into the research to deliver that host of benefits. That's another thing that attracted us to this opportunity, is because we had built such interest in delivering that battery of cognitive benefits in a powder form. How do you take that into this beverage range? How do you continue to deliver the range? And that was another thing that really made this entire experience so foundational for us, because yes, that convenience is there. The ability to deliver focus, mood benefits at 30 minutes, to have that experiential impact in a very easy to consume beverage and have it stay stable. It's exciting.
Yeah, it was as a formulator, as you guys know, like that is one of the greatest things you can see is when you see a product and you're like, okay, so, sometimes there's some sedimentation, but the biggest one was Zynamite I was most worried about, but it ended up great. The run was great. The sleeves were great. It was a fantastic experience. And even though it was a lot of coordination and a lot of anxiety on my part I remember telling Joey, I said, these flavors aren't supposed to get here till the day before you arrive. Like, we're on the 11th hour. But I was, I had my team there at 6 in the morning. They were more than willing to break their backs and get this done, because it's a big entry for LaCore to kind of really shine a light on what a hidden gem we are as a facility in Texas, that I feel like when you guys toured, you were like, you guys have been here this whole time. We've been there for the whole time, and nobody really knows what we have to offer. So it was great.
Yeah, anyone who has the chance to go tour LaCore, I definitely recommend it. So you brought up putting botanicals in drinks. You kind of are a little gun shy on. I want to ask any ingredient provider. I want to start with Steve, but anyone who wants to add anything on this is definitely welcome to join in. Beverage-stable ingredients have been a trend that we at Price Plow have almost been forced into talking. I love talking about it, don't get me wrong, but everyone's got beverage-stable versions of their ingredients. Zynamite is one of the first platforms that we started getting to beverage-stable on. What kind of work went into making sure it was beverage-stable, and how happy does it make you hear that she was able
Yeah, I want to, again, give there's a research partner that we work with, Nectium, who they have an entire technology platform. Smart Tech is actually what they're using as an innovation technology to take, as you mentioned, botanicals are notoriously insoluble. They typically don't taste good. Also, there are times where your dose is a little bit too large to go into a beverage format, and so a lot of work went into how do we enhance potential bioavailability? How do we alter the taste profile to make it palatable, soluble? And then that way, when you have a small inclusion rate that can pack that powerful punch, that not only can you formulate easier, it goes in, it stays in solution, but you're also then delivering an experience package that you can feel right away. So that's going to keep people coming back. They're going to want to consume our retail-ready product over and over again. So that was very important. Also, I think you had mentioned down there at the end the caffeine inclusion. One of the great things with Zynamite is that with its non-stim energy format, you can, a lot of the performance beverages you're out there, you see 300, 400, sometimes 500 milligrams of caffeine needed to pack that punch. By combining that delivery with Zynamite, you were able to do a retail-ready formula where you didn't really need to use that much. You could deliver something that you could feel at a caffeine load level that allows you to really not get, sometimes any negative drawbacks with a high caffeine load and still deliver the awesome experience in combination.
Does anyone want to talk about beverage-stable?
Sure.
Okay.
So, to add on, when you look at ingredients for beverages, along with all the things like flavor and taste, but stability is number one as far as it's got to be on what's in the beverage has got to stay in the beverage. So I've seen a lot of ingredients that claim beverage stability that when you taste or test the beverage, it's not there. So there's a lot of work that goes into when you develop these types of ingredients. First, you have a lot of base science. You got to figure out how you actually even test for it. So sometimes you have to develop your own tests, and then you have to validate those tests, and then you have to put it into applications and do shelf life testing. You can do accelerated, but you really need to also do real-time testing on that. So there's a lot of time and work when it comes to beverages, that when you sell the ingredient and they put it into the beverage, that when the consumer takes it, it's in there. Whatever it says on the label, it's going to be there in the end of the day. So I've seen other people sell ingredients where they claim it's beverage stable and they have no shelf life date on it. So make sure your people have the data when you're looking at these ingredients.
Yeah, it's actually become a huge focus for us at NNB across the board with all of our ingredients. You know about the pure, potent, precise decision there that we've really moved away from herbals, period, and just moved into the pure, ideally fermented compounds in tiny doses. I really feel like the market is moving into not just RTD, where you're seeing, billion-dollar acquisitions and RTDs continue to explode, but RTC, if you will, ready to consume. If you look at Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they don't want pills, powders, tablets. Like, they want ready to consume. They want gummies. They want shots, they want drinks, they want gums, they want transdermals, cosmeceuticals, whatever, like ready to use, ready to consume. And so for us, everything needs to be tiny dose, efficacious, soluble, stable, so that it can work across those formats.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off that, I know when you were on the facility, we talked about where I kind of thought the market was going. And I said, well, ingredients are great, and we all love the ingredients, but I think we're going to see a huge shift into new form factors, right? So ready to consume. And so when you think of ingredients in the future, it's offering the stability for them to be water soluble and stable in the liquids. And that's really exciting on our end, because I just saw at LaCore, we do 90% of what you just said. We do gummies, we do we don't do soft gels yet, maybe in the future. We do shots, we do multi-serve liquids, fill form sealed gels. I mean, all of those types of liquids that in the past, where we were running into some issues with a pump clogging or anything like that, it's exciting to see you guys put in the effort and the time and the money and offer that to formulators and manufacturers for customer education, but as well for ease of production. I mean, the production people are the last people you want to kind of piss off on a manufacturing company. So when we can formulate it to make it easy to run, our production team is happier and we're more effective and more efficient. So it's going to be a great couple of years to see a lot of these things that you didn't think could go into a liquid start spending the money to go that way.
And I think a carbonated can is like the most stereotypical ready to drink. It's what you think of it as. When I say RTD, I think of a can or possibly a bottle. But when you say ready to consume, you can think of a lot of other ways to consume quickly. I'm going to hawk a little bit for LaCore. They have these like snap cards where you can get small amounts of liquids, liquid stick packs. There are a lot of ways that you could use beverage stable technology and not need 12 to 16 ounces. We could be talking a smaller serving size. You'd be talking about single serving packets of a lot of different things. So there's a lot of possibilities in the future for different things. So they're not yanking me off the stage yet. So I have one last question for everyone. This project required competitors to put aside competition and collaborate together. How is this different than a typical business interaction? And how can collaboration like this, where different brands work together to provide something that really works together, how can this scale and be sustainable beyond Vegas this year? Anyone?
Oh, do I go? I can go first. We'll go this way. We'll start in a row. As somebody who's worked at, this is my 4th facility of the kind, all in the DFW area, I think it's hard to put the value on the collaboration versus I want the business that you have, and I'm going to do anything to get it, and my company's better than yours because we run X amount of products, we run X company, and I think that's kind of some of the negativity that I ended up leaving from some of my facilities. And then when I moved to LaCore is very startup friendly. We're very collaborative. I mean, Ashley, our director of supply chain, loves to say that it is like Shark Tank for a company where you come in and we can do, you want 800 cans, we can do that. But if you need a 3PL who distributes into Mexico, Europe, whatever, you can do that a la carte. But we're really focused on startup companies, and having the collaborative effort with you guys was just so refreshing. It wasn't well, we don't know who LaCore is and we don't know what they do, so we're not going to do that. So it's really refreshing, and I think it speaks a lot to, it needs to be innovation and better products for the masses over profitability, which, I mean, we all want to be profitable, right? But we all have really cool jobs, and I think in the mix of it all, some people can get lost in the money hungry aspect of it, and all that's going to do at the end of the day is potentially drive a client away, because you just want more and more and more. And working with these guys, y'all were so kind, and I feel like I texted or emailed you guys almost every day, and never once did I feel like I was a bother. So I think that's really what you guys are bringing is let's set aside our profit and let's bring all the great minds together, and let's make something really cool that people can actually buy and is functional.
Yeah, and I'll add that real estate and room in a beverage format is often very challenging, so customers have to be very selective. What do they want? What kind of benefit package do they want to deliver? And one of the things that really excites me about working at PLT is we will do a lot of concept ideation with our customers through the selling process, through the marketing process. We obviously, as a company, much like everybody else up here, have invested to develop these water-soluble grades, these products that we've been selling for years and commercializing in either hard shell form or powder form. How do we take all those benefits, make them basically adaptable to these challenging application formats, whether it's juice, beverages, and we know that the end customer is going to they might want a matrix of different benefits. And so how do we work together? And often we will do that. We'll sit at the table with these customers, understand I'm looking to do this, I'm looking to do that, and we'll look at where they are today and help show them where they're going to be tomorrow, and not abandon the botanical. It's a lot of work to stay in that botanical range and continue to innovate so you can continue to stay there, but deliver those dosage forms and functional benefits in a taste neutral, functionally beneficial way. So it's kind of I think we can all be inspiring to each other, and we raise the industry. We kind of raise it together as a set of individuals working as one.
For sure. I'm not saying like abandon the whole industry, abandon it like we just are as a company, but I do believe in abundance over scarcity, I should say, that really, and that's like what NNB is doing. That's how we're growing faster, is that we're not only supplying ingredients directly, but we're supplying ingredients to a lot of the other branded ingredient distributors. And that's helping us move quickly, and we're learning from so many other companies. We're working with contract manufacturers, flavor houses, and learning these technologies. Like you said, having that collaborative partner, Nexium, right? Yeah. Research partners. I mean, that's how everyone's going to grow. And I love these collaborative efforts. I love the effort that you did, Ben and Mike and the team at Price Plow, at just bringing so many people together and putting like it's kind of like Voltron or something where you're putting all the things together and making something greater out of it. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
I think it's the reality of business today. Glanbia we've invested in a lot in different applications labs, not only in the U.S. but overseas. And so it's a very common that we have these collaborative projects where we're bringing in other people's ingredients and adding ours into the mix, and then developing the full beverage or bar or whatever end application you're looking at. So yeah, it's the reality of business today.
Yeah, and I would just add that I think caffeine is, you may be surprised to hear that caffeine is probably the most collaborative ingredient. And the reason is the dose is dependent on all the other ingredients in the formula. To get it just right depends on everything else in the formula, and collaboration is key.
Thank you. And everyone for showing up. Thank you guys for coming to listen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Give a hand to our whole panel, and don't go too far. We've got Ingredient Idol coming your way in about 10 minutes. See what's next.